iPhone 12 mini, possibly, in my opinion, the most interesting iPhone ever made, except for maybe the 12 Pro Max. But the mini is almost more interesting because for the first time ever, I'm considering not using the flagship iPhone. Now that I've used all 4 of the new iPhone 12s, I'm going to be going through some of the reasoning for which iPhone I will be using. Typically, I end up going for whatever the best cameras are at a reasonable size. For example, the iPhone 11 Pro was and is a great smartphone and camera system. For me, the Max has never been as enticing, partly because of the way it fits in your hand. It's just a little bit too big, partly because I want to use my smartphone less, and I know if I had this massive screen, I would just be watching YouTube videos and Netflix all day long, and partly because it's just harder to carry in your pocket or take on a run or anything like that. And now we have this new iPhone 12 mini, and the best part is you don't really have to compromise on anything. Almost. The ultra-wide camera is by far my favorite camera on the iPhones, and it is the same on the 12 mini as on all of the other 12s, including the Pro and the Pro Max. The wide is also the same on all of them except for the Pro Max has a bigger sensor and it's a little bit better. And just like on the regular 12, we don't have that telephoto lens, but to me, that lens is kind of useless. I literally never ever use the telephoto camera. I was talking about this the other day. I think it's because usually when you're using a telephoto, you end up getting really nice shallow depth of field, that nice bokeh blur. And with a small sensor smartphone camera, you're not really getting any of that. So it kind of just looks like you just digitally zoomed and that's it. You're not getting any of the fanciness of a nice zoom lens. You still get the same beautiful screen. Granted, it is a little bit smaller, and basically all of the specs are the same as on the 12, except for the battery life. Because it is a smaller phone, it is mini, you're not gonna have as much battery life. But if I can go through the day without having to charge, I'm gonna be totally fine. And I think this is still gonna have enough battery to do that for me. But honestly, I just love how this thing feels in the hand. It's hard to explain the difference between holding a Pro Max and then this tiny little mini. It just fits perfectly in your hand. You can swipe anywhere on the screen easily. You still got a nice size screen on here. And even though I did say I like the matte back finish better, the glossy glass does have a practical benefit of being a little bit more grippy on the hands. So actually using it a little bit more, I don't mind it at all. It doesn't look quite as good as the matte finishes of the Pros, but I'm okay with it. It's practical. And it's super light, and I don't know, I just love this little thing. I don't know if it's just the novelty of having a smaller phone again, or maybe this just is the perfect size phone for me. So here's kind of the deductive reasoning I use to figure out which of the 4 iPhone 12s would be the iPhone that works best for me. And first off, I can't compromise on the ultra-wide camera. That has to be the best that I can get, and because it's the same on all of them, it doesn't really matter. The wide camera, I want it to be good, but I can compromise a little bit there just because I don't use it as much. And so I'm okay compromising a little bit on the wide quality, going from the Pro Max, which just is massive, to the Mini, which has the same wide camera as the 12 Pro and the 12. Although I will miss that sensor shift stabilization in the Pro Max, it did seem to work pretty dang good. For me, I want my phone to be smaller in size, but it can also be in the medium range. That's fine. I want the screen to look beautiful. And most importantly, I just want it to feel really nice when you're holding it in your hand. So from that little list, it's easy to whittle down that the Pro Max just isn't gonna work for me. It's just too big. It doesn't feel as nice in my hand. I feel like I'm holding like a small iPad. Other people love these, but for me, it's just too big. The 12 to me is a little bit redundant at this point, although this would have a better battery life than the 12 12 mini, so that might be the only kind of differentiating factor there. But if I'm gonna go for this size, I'm gonna go for the 12 Pro. So for me, it's down to the 12 mini and the 12 Pro. And if I was gonna go with the mini, I would have to sacrifice the telephoto lens, the 60 frames per second Dolby Vision, and the Future Pro RAW, and LiDAR, which right now isn't really doing that much. It's doing a lot less than I expected. I don't know if they're gonna add in a bunch of features soon, but right now the LiDAR isn't doing too much. So I am going with the cheapest, the smallest iPhone 12, the mini. This is gonna be my daily driver, and that took me completely by surprise. And I would venture to even say that the 12 mini will be the most popular iPhone 12 for most people. And I might even say, for me, this is the greatest iPhone ever made. But that's just for me, and we're all different. I kind of like that we have 4 different iPhones that all have different strengths and weaknesses, so you can kind of find the iPhone that works best for you. If the LiDAR gets more use, then I'll probably switch to the iPhone 12 Pro, but for now, it's the iPhone 12 mini with MagSafe wallet for the win. No case. I just love this thing. It's so good.